Hey, it's Terrie Carr, and thanks for checking out my web series. I bring in the artists, and we chat new artists, classics, and everyone in between. In this episode, I connect with an old pal, Leigh Kakaty from Pop Evil. We talk about the band's new release, what remains, resilience, and over 20 years of being Pop Evil. So when I get to hang out with old friends, it always makes the interviews and the Zooms so much better. I'm with Leigh Kakaty from Pop Evil. It is great to see your face. You never change. You
Oh
are
my,
like a gentleman that, like in 2008 when we first met or something, like
yeah.
you, it's your face is exactly the same every single time.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. It's just so excited to get to talk to you again, and obviously on the horizon of this new album. It's exciting times, man. A lot to be grateful for
It
sure.
is. It is exciting times for the band. There's so much to go over with this record. The record is coming out on Friday. We have waited a while for what remains. Let's talk about, I think, going in. The one common thread for me for Pop Evil is always like one big giant R word, and that's resilience. It's such a different band and such a different sound and flavor from, Lipstick on the Mirror to now. But there's one common thread, and that is always this resilience that I think is the thing that connects us as fans
Sure.
with the band. So talk to me about the resilience of your band.
Yeah, I mean, firsthand. I mean, you've been with us since day one, since the beginning, and obviously the first record. It's crazy. It's crazy to think, what we've done, what we've accomplished, where we've been, all the trials, tribulations. It's kind of the ups and downs. That's kind of what this album is been on. I think just that natural progression of just reflecting before you do an album where your soul is at, where that true inner person is, it kind of you shut your eyes, you listen to the music and the lyrics kind of come out, and where they come out in the early stages, you just kind of just trust the process and you don't always think about if this song's going to be Pop Evil or where we're going to be, but I think that as songs start to kind of take shape, they can also be reflections on, like you said, where the past and where you've been in the past, that resilience, like you said, it's been a bit to survive. You've had to evolve, right? I mean, when we came in at a time where record labels weren't really giving bands a lot of money in the studio. It was kind of like, hey, here's your budget. You have to do as many songs as you can to find your identity. And in those early days, we only had money for 10 or 12 songs. They were all making the record. If you had 12 songs on the record, we recorded only 12. So if it didn't sound like you or it did sound like you, it did too bad. They all got to go on the record. So as the times have progressed and we've had a little more opportunity to taste success, we've been able to take our time, number one, but also explore things that have worked for the band and things that haven't worked for the band, and try to hone in on that. Obviously the meet and greets as well have been such a part of this new era of touring and this era of ours and in the space where you can really listen and get a firsthand account of what your fans want from you, and
Yes. Yeah. And
see.
you're a band of the fans.
Sure,
Always a
absolutely.
band of the
Yep.
fans. People, the first thing
Yep.
people say, oh, I love Leigh. I love Pop Evil. They're such a great band. They're such great guys. They're such great people. So you've been a band about the fans since day one. That of course is a common thread, like the people's band. And you always strike me too as a band that with material, it's not like, oh, well, we've had this song since X day. Like we've had this song for 16 years. It always seems like there's just this fresh evolution, almost timestamps for you guys, that the music is always fresh. Now, I could be completely wrong, and you could be like, no, this whole record we had a record like this in the can. But that's how I perceive it as a fan.
No, you're right. I mean, it's for me personally. I want it fresh. I want to write in the moment of where I'm at in that moment. In the earlier days, I think there were probably a few more songs that were like, hey, and there's lots of songs technically in the can, but and I think when you speak to the managers and the label, sometimes look, hey, we need to do this song or we should record this, and I'm always like, yeah, we'll see. And then you get into the new record and you write the new stuff, and it just gets buried and it gets pushed back. But yeah, for the most part, you're exactly right. We want it fresh and you want to evolve and you want to push yourself. You want to push the boundaries, and that can be as vague as possible, but it can also be as specific, everything leading up to that live show to make that experience when you come see Pop Evil, like you said, for the fans. It's that much more enjoyable. It's that much more challenging mentally and sonically to make you think not only just about the music, but hopefully about the visual component about Pop Evil as well. When you think about the artwork, think about the live show, people that have met us on the meet and greets. It's just all a big part of it, and something that we try not to take for granted. We try to
Yeah,
be
the
that.
experience, the whole experience. It's the Pop Evil experience. And having people too, I think, as you evolve, people around you who really believe in you.
Yeah,
The right managers who are going to say, you guys want to make this kind of an album or this is what you're feeling now. We're in your corner. We believe in you. And I think that's so important. And not every band has that. You guys have that.
very important. We have the best managers on the planet. Obviously, George and George are incredible,
The
incredible.
Georges.
The Georges are such an incredible support staff, and they've been that way for me personally in the band from the beginning. And it was kind of more this album getting back to our roots, right? Getting back to those guitar roots in the band. That getting back to some of our metal inspiration. That
It's
in the early
darker. Oh, there's no doubt. It's definitely darker. Even you mentioned artwork. Even
yes,
the artwork is darker. It's very
exactly.
Dio-esque, like it,
Yeah,
it
yeah, that's
reminded
it.
me of a
Yeah.
Dio record. I was thinking if I turned it upside down, if I was going to see like Pop Evil as the word devil, I was
Love
like,
it.
oh,
I
this
love
is
it.
so Dio-esque, and it really fits the experience of what these 10 tracks are all about.
Definitely. I love hearing you say that because still I'm new to the interviews I've been doing with this record. So and interestingly enough, Terry, this record, I feel like I micromanage every album. So by the time we get to play the first show, I've heard these songs millions and millions of times. So by the time a year in, I'm exhausted,
Yes,
mentally.
yes.
So I've really done my part to, as soon as the album was done, done. I haven't listened to it. I don't, to this day, I don't, I'm waiting for the album to be released before I even know the song order. I mean, I think they went over it with me at first and I was like, yeah, that sounds great. But for the most part, I didn't want to micromanage that stuff. I
Wow.
wrote it.
Wow.
It consumed me for a year. That as soon as it was over, I was like, look, I wanna kind of find it again when it's
I
released.
love that. You're the first person I've ever heard say that. And I
Yep.
can so understand what you're talking about because you want to go in fresh again. You were
Yep.
excited about it when you recorded
Totally.
it, when it was in the writing process, and then yeah, you letting it go for a bit, and now you're going to go into this with a whole fresh perspective on
Yeah.
the next phase of what this record is. I love that.
Yeah, and it's the time like and
Love it.
our eighth album. So that first week, the first month, the first year of a new album is everything. I think about every year after it's a part of your catalog, man. It's this business is all about the next, right? The next album, the next song, the next tour. That your hard work just gets forgotten in ways. I feel so. It was so important for me to try
Yeah.
something different this album to just fall in love with it all over again once it's released. Obviously, I'm so excited. When you have the label and the managers, doing all their hard work to make sure it's released the right way and basically make your dream come true, right? They're printing it up for you, just like we were when I wished that it was when just like I wished it would happen when I was a kid. You smell the album, you can't wait to see your ideas in print form.
What's
There it is.
inside? What's you're
Yes, what's
tooling through?
inside.
Oh,
And it's such an exciting experience, and I think after the pandemic, I just told myself I just want to appreciate every opportunity differently this time around. I mean, not that you took it for granted, but it happened so fast. The first 4 or 5 albums that, like, before you know it, like I think it took COVID, to be honest, the pandemic to actually finally that was the first time we actually had a break to just
you
be like,
guys
wow,
never took a breather.
never
Never
took.
took a breather. You were always touring. You
Yeah,
were always doing radio. You were always in our studios. You're at the Starland Ballroom. You're in that down in Asbury. You're doing this.
yeah,
You're doing that. Like you never stopped. Out on the big festivals, opening, headlining your own tours. Pop Evil was, like I said, the working band, the band of the fans. You were always out at the merch table. You were always, I mean, it was a nonstop kind of juggernaut for you. And I think gave you that perspective to be able to realize, that you were a band that didn't want to make the same record over and over, that didn't want to rely on a certain sound. And I think you still have that Pop Evil sound, but obviously the last couple records were heavier Pop Evil sounds.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We wanna challenge ourselves and things that obviously the fans love that third album of ours, which was the breakout album, which is our Onyx album. And I was in a dark place. I just lost my father. I mean, I was
Yes.
upset. I was pissed off. Like, and that stuff just comes out. And like you said, I mean, I'm a kind guy by nature. I'm not really out there trying to be mean. I'm not out there trying to take it out on anybody. So I buried it. So when you get a chance to write, that's when you can release that darkness that just weighed you down for months sometimes. And I would say it just feels, again, not to keep talking about the pandemic, but we were the first one shut down, we're the last ones to come back. Obviously, I had a lot of trauma from that experience. So I think that, again, not even knowing that, but as I sat down to write this record, what remains, it just obviously we've had band members, transition in and out. It's always a little bit of um, traumatizing event when you lose people that are close to you, and not just from the musical side of it, but you live with these people,
From
for
this, yeah.
years to chase the dream, to have to have all these wishful thinking in a way, like they're out. We have all these wishful thinking of these places you might be able to take this band, or the places we can go as brothers, sisters, like where we can go, and those and unfortunately life happens, and people may have to make decisions what's best for them, and it is in some ways a weird marriage when you're involved with bands and the band, and not just with band members, your crew members, like anybody who's involved, it can be very you build a lot of strong relationships, and when those
Yeah.
relationships change and go away, it's tough, man. It's tough to take. So processing a lot of that, as I started to write this record, it just started to come out. And I remember George, our manager, I think I was 5 songs in, and he goes, "Do you realize, what you're writing about?" And I'm like, "No, I hadn't stopped and think about it. I'm just writing. I'm not trying to get in his. I'm trying to get in his zone. I'm not trying to think about an album. And he's like, "I want you to go back and read these lyrics, because there's a lot of healing I had no idea you needed to. You obviously had to like let out."
Wow,
And I
George
went,
picked that up, huh?
yeah, George Junior picked that up, and
Junior.
I went back and literally read the lyrics like he said, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like this is the most personal I've ever been on any album." Now it's
Yeah.
not, it's not as direct. Obviously, I'm not trying to write and this happened last year, this is the next month, this is so on and so. It's just sometimes when you write, it's easier for me to put myself in someone else's shoes. But when you really stop and look at it this time around, I was like, wow, there's a lot of my shoes that are that are coming on these feet, that I had to, I guess, apparently let out. So it
Yeah.
was just kind of just trusted again that situation, and where my mind and where my soul body was going, and taking these lyrics, that it was like, wow, let's just keep going with it and just see what happens. So it was just an incredible therapeutic experience for me, and certainly one of that's what makes this album so special for me as well. And just hopeful that it'll help some people once it finally gets released, and it'll make again an awesome opportunity to grow our live show with the set list. Definitely looking forward
Yes.
to
Oh,
that down.
yes. 8 records in. Oh my gosh. Yeah, resilience, taking us back to that resilience. Yeah, 8 records in. How tough is it now for you when you're going out on the road to pick that set list? I mean, because there's so much to choose from and so many
Uh,
different flavors and textures. The cool thing about you guys too, and we'll
yeah.
go back to picking the set list, but I think you can tour with anybody now too, because I think you can be like on the hardest metal show, or you can be with something that's a little more singer-songwriter and still tell those stories and pick those songs from the set list for that tour. I think that's really cool that you guys can go out and kind of tour with anybody and fit into the bill. So does the bill determine how you pick some of the set list, or if you guys are headlining, how do you choose?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's definitely something we discuss, depending on the tour. What are the songs but as we definitely discussed it, I want to think, and as you're mentioning it, a few years back, but now as the years have kind of gone on, we're like, okay, look, especially the last 2 records, it's like, look, let's just show the genre, obviously, because there's a lot of people that go to a lot of these shows, and they'll continue, they might go to the Metallica show, but at the same time they're going to see Poison and Cheap Trick. You know what I mean? They're not, they love hard rock, they love
Yep.
metal, they don't care, they're just going to good shows. And so we've had that discussion as well on the more frequent side, to be like, let's just put the best of the songs that we play the best, and let's just put those out there, and let's just deliver. Because we're always excited to play in front of new fans that maybe they know the band, maybe they've heard some of our hits, but they've never seen us live. That's always that fun, challenging audience to play for. So, if you change your set list up, there's that there's always that kind of doubt that, well, maybe they're not hearing our best foot forward because we're playing songs that we wrote years ago. Obviously you want to play some of the hits, and you want to remind people that, okay, well, we wrote this song, and you do remember that song, there's a part of that. But like you said, that thin line to walk, and to make it hopefully make that fan leave with the experience going, wow, I'm excited about where this new era or this version of Pop Evil's going. Because I mean, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, that's what you're promoting, right? Whatever the lineup is now, whatever the new album is kind of it's that launching pad to where you might be able to take the band in the future. And we're definitely excited about there's so much more we feel like we can accomplish in this band, and with this, and with the characters, the cast of characters that are involved, from our band members, obviously, to our crew, to our manager and our label, that we're just so excited about, embracing where the creativity comes from. You know what I mean? And you can always hone anything back, or hey, let's write a song that's a little more in the vein of this older album, but let's not be open, not be afraid to push the boundaries and maybe explore different vocal techniques. And a song like Wishful Thinking on this album, it's the verses are me singing in my real voice and me going through the programming and looking at ways to make it a little vibier for pop people rather than just record the vocal. There it is.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
was
then
going
of
to
course
ask
you
you
get to
about
the
that
chorus.
too. The
Yeah,
video
yeah.
is so cool. The
Oh,
video is amazing. I love the video, and yeah, your vocals are definitely so distinct, and there's definitely some different roads traveled, on your vocal performance on that song.
yeah, you're exactly right. And it's just trying to have more fun for myself and the band in the studio so we can bring that positive and exciting energy to the stage. Sometimes when you're doing the same things over and over and over every album, it gets really what's the right word? I mean, it just gets boring.
Uninspiring maybe, because you're going through the same
Yeah,
motions. And any day-to-dayness of anything can
yeah,
be uninspiring. So, you know, that's a human experience, and I think we all feel that. So that's why the fans get that inspiration from you when you do take these turns.
yeah. I agree, and it's just about finding ourselves in the studio, having that fun, man. Looking at the project in a different lens, like being open to try things that maybe we were, I don't afraid again isn't the word, but maybe a little less likely to challenge ourselves in
Yeah,
that way.
sure.
Like, okay, hey, we got a couple singles we feel are really good. Let's roll. We didn't have the time to really push. Now it's every song we're trying to complement the next song, making sure that it all kind of works to the theme that is what remains. Because there's a lot of people, the big message of this album is there's a lot of people who've been through hell and back, right? When you're at your darkest, or your world has really come to a turning point, what version of yourself do you want to put forward? Do you want to take a step backward and hide in your house or hide in your safe zone and stay depressed, or do you want to take a step forward and try to have a better version of yourself, come out and share with the rest of the world based off that challenge? So what remains, this album, there's a lot of I in first person perspective, right? I am what remains. I'm on my death walk. I'm wishful thinking. You know what I mean? I can't really tell the story the way when I'm talking about the other band members or people in my life. I can't speak for them. I can only speak for myself. And so that kind of energy was really coming out on this album, and definitely excited for the fans to take a more personal look at this album from a lyrical perspective, but also, as they sit there and bop to the music, hopefully they can ask themselves those questions. When they find their life in a pivotal turning point moment, what version of themselves? Hopefully they'll challenge themselves to be a better version of themselves.
I love it. I love it. Looking so forward to Friday. The new
Can
Pop Evil is out. What remains? We've waited a while for it. Leigh, thank you so much for spending some time. It is always my honor, my privilege, and fun for me to be able to see you and hang with you.
Love you to death there. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk with you today and share with the fans this new album. Hopefully, all you fans out there listening and watching, Friday, it is here finally. Cannot wait.